What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Hitting the Bars. It's your girl, Savvy Wavy 1, beside her lovely KOC. How is it going?
Good, good. You know, it's a sunny day in Vancouver in October. Life is great.
Rare.
It's crisp,
Wow.
crisp and sunny. What more could you want? How are you?
I love that. Wait, how was your LA trip?
Oh, LA. Oh God, I forgot that even happened. It was so fast. It was unbelievable. But it was like I got to the hotel, had dinner, went to bed, got up and started filming all day with Apple. Like Apple that you're listening to on podcasts that I sold my soul to 12 years ago. Apple. It
That
was
apple?
It was crazy. I wish so. It was for this kind of like PR thing at Apple Fitness Studio. And I can't even tell you guys about it because it's like they don't even have a sign anywhere. You were not allowed to take photos outside the building because it's this like undisclosed location. And they just had this little thing and it's all, anyways, I went in and it's exactly how you think Apple would be. It's state of the art. It's perfection. It was like stepping into foot of like Star Wars. Everyone was so friendly. And then got a film. I went for a run and then they had bikes waiting up for us at Santa Monica Pier. And then we rode on that bike. And then we're just kind of filming, learning all these things. So there's all these photos and videos. They were like running around us. So they sent me all the photos. And it's just think of like an Apple commercial photo. And like it's me looking at my Apple Watch. And I was like, everything was perfect. Everything they did. And then we got to do a yoga class. Have you seen Apple Fitness Plus?
No.
It's the app with your Apple Watch that's like linked to workout. So they have like 56 classes every week that come out and they're live, like the studio does it, but they're pre-recorded, and then they're like follow along, think circa 2020 workouts, but they're Apple. So they're just the most perfect footage and everything streamlined and it syncs to your Apple Watch and your move rings and all that. But we got to go in the studio that they film it at and do a class and no one's ever done that. So it was the technology. It's probably boring to everyone who's not a tech nerd like me, but the cameras they had, it was just that we weren't allowed to film in there because it's all top secret. No one else could know about. So I was so mad because I just wanted to share the inside, but we weren't allowed to film anything in there. But it was exactly how you think Apple would be: streamlined, efficient, beautiful, state of the art. It was stepping
Royal
into the future.
treatment.
It was cool. And then I hopped right back on a plane and came right back. So it was like 24 hours.
Wow. I love that. Good for you.
How was your
sounds
weekend?
Fun. My weekend was
PR.
It was good. You know, we had a full 24 hours that like we were traveling because, you know, like you have to get early to the airport and like Michael and I are psychopaths and we get there like 3 hours early for an international flight.
Yeah.
And it was good, except the one qualm that I had, which leads me into my first hot take, is being a homeowner is actually really freaking annoying. Okay. Like I don't have a landlord. I am the landlord. So I have to source these things and listen to what happened. So we get home at like 1 a.m. and I wake up bright and early at 6 a.m. because I can't sleep because I'm used to the time zone in Europe. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's fine. I'm going good. Well, that day, it was a Friday. And I literally grocery shop. I marked my whole calendar like busy. So I didn't have meetings or anything. So I could just catch up, unpack, do laundry and meal prep. Well, at night, it starts pouring down. And like someone had mentioned a tropical storm. And like we have a lot of these tropical storms that come by or, rainfall often. It's like rainy season. This I had never seen so aggressive in my life. And I was like, oh, weird. And I'm literally putting away clothes. It's like 6 p.m. I'm talking to my mother-in-law and I look over. We have like these two closets. In one closet, I almost slip on something. I notice a leak. I'm like, what? That's weird. So I was like, hey, Karin, like, I'm kind of freaked out. I need to talk to Michael. I'll call you back. And so I like go to get a bucket for this leak. I slip on like a mound of water in one of our bathrooms. And I'm like, oh, great. And what happens is usually our septic tank will overflow with water because it was not placed properly. And I'm like, oh no. But what's weird is this doesn't smell. And it's happened before. And I later realized it's just a hole in the wall and like a drain that was clogged. And so I'm freaking out. I'm trying to mop the water. We finally bought like a water vacuum, thank God, because I've mopped it so many times. And then our living room started flooding. And then a tree fell in like the only what is it, like street for us to we were gonna go to dinner with Millie and Simon to like treat them to watching Bentley. And we text them like, hey guys, we can't go because there's a tree and that will not be moved for a long time because it's island time. Is that not wild?
That's
and
crazy.
So all of this happened while I'm on the phone with my mother-in-law, and she's like, your Friday night is wild. So Michael and I just stayed home, which I was fine with. We were so tired. We went to bed at like 9 because we were jet lagged.
Meant to be.
Right? But it was just one thing after another. And thank goodness I have a really great handyman. He came to look at something else that doesn't work. And I said, I actually have like 10 items for you. And so he's patching away, working away. But that's my first hot take is home ownership. I mean, I love it, but low key, it's overrated sometimes. Like in my mind, if I buy a house, why doesn't it just stay the same always? I don't understand.
It should be like that.
It should
be. We should have landlords for homeowners. But
I would pay a management company for that because to source somebody here is so incredibly hard. So I just had a septic tank guy come. The handyman, thank goodness, I found him. And I just don't know what I'd do. I literally post on these pages being like, does anyone recommend like a person that works on leaks? Like, I don't know. I don't even know where this hole is in my house. Like, I've never owned a house before, let alone lived in a house. I've only lived in apartments.
True. I guess then I'll pop in with my hot take for the week. And it's utilizing the placebo effect on yourself. Like it's the most studied thing out there, placebo effect. So anytime I know I'm going to feel crappy, I just do random things, fully well knowing deep down, probably do nothing, but I can convince myself. Like I've been taking charcoal whenever I drink now. And I think I've mentioned it a few times, but like this weekend, I went drinking after my half marathon. I was like, I'm definitely going to be so hungover, even just from a couple of beers. Before I went to bed, chugged electrolyte, had a charcoal, and I was like, this is going to cure me. And I woke up feeling fine. And throughout the whole day, I was like, you're not hungover, you had charcoal. Was I? Probably. But people say the placebo effect's real. So just like doing little things to yourself, whether it be this fancy tea I bought, which is just peppermint tea. And you're like, oh, this will cure my stomach. And you're like, I know it doesn't, but I'm just telling myself. I'm like, purposely utilize the placebo effect on yourself. That's my new mantra.
I love that. I think that really even goes for when you feel like a cold or sick. Yeah. When you're like, I will feel better. And of course you have to take care of yourself, but the mind is powerful, ma'am.
You know how sometimes you see those things online and you're like, that's not going to work, but it looks kind of fun. Do it. And just lie to yourself. And then, you know what I mean? And if someone comes out, you're like, where's the science? The science is the most studied effect on earth is the placebo effect. So there's the science.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Well, my next one, this is actually a new one that I did not even write down because I witnessed it today. My hot take is men don't notice our hair. Okay. So Michael, I literally I buy these rollers because I see them on TikTok and everyone's hair looks voluptuous and beautiful and blow out Jennifer Aniston, right? And I'm like, I want it. So I buy these $8 rollers from Amazon. I don't know how to use these rollers. So I wash my hair, I blow dry my hair, I roll it up and I dry it. It still doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, I think I need to curl my hair and then put the rollers, but I don't know why I need to put them in rollers if they're already curled. So I do that. It literally takes me 45 minutes because I had so many failed attempts and pulling at my hair, and it was just super annoying. My hair looks fantastic though. If anybody's looking on YouTube,
great.
Thank you. At first it looked really condensed and tight and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't do this again. And then I literally sit on the bed editing something for an hour. I come up, I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer Aniston hair. Yeah. And anyways, Michael's about to go to the gym and I'm like, are you not going to say anything to me? And he's like, what? And I'm like, don't I look pretty? I literally look like Adam Sandler majority of the time. My hair's in a bun. I don't wear makeup all the time. And I have my eyelashes on. And I said, my hair's curled. And he's like, your hair's always curled. I have naturally straight hair. I'm like, bitch, are you kidding me?
Men.
Yeah. And I said, it would go a long way just for you to say I look pretty. And he's like, I do. And he's like, I do. You have wavy hair. I'm like, but this is purposely curled hair. So they just don't get it.
They don't see the effort. They're just curl or straight. And that's in their mind. Messy. See, here's the difference. Men don't know the difference between curled hair and messy hair. They can't see the difference.
And
so in their mind, it's just straight or puff.
Yeah. And I'm like, I washed my hair. I never wash my hair. I just thought I was going above and beyond. And this bitch just didn't I'm like, I have been known to have pin straight hair. When do I
Yeah.
have curly hair? Unless it's just not brushed. So
Idiots. Just kidding. Lovely idiots, but
Yeah.
idiots.
Yeah. Okay. What's your do you have another hot
And
take, or
that
is
was
that
all I
your
had.
final?
Honestly, I
Okay.
ran that half marathon and I was so fried that my hot take was the couch was nice this weekend.
Nice. Okay. We love a good couch potato.
Yeah.
So let's jump into our little headlines today. We thought it'd be fun to kind of catch up on what's going on in the world with our little pop culture life, fitness life, all the good stuff. And number one is, I know you haven't read it yet, but Britney Spears dropped her memoir. And did you download it for the flight? If you aren't,
It was so funny because I was about to be like, oh, I didn't read it, but I will read it for the flight.
okay. I literally read it. We were going from Paris to your homeland, Canada, and it was a 7-hour flight. I binged that 4 hours straight. My eyes hurt so bad at the end because it's a Kindle, and it is so good and it's so juicy. And I know, like, I'm not going to give away anything, but basically TikTok has given away all of the tidbits.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really fascinating. I can't wait to unpack it. And yeah, Britney, she's just going wild right now. She's trending everywhere. And I feel like there's a new perspective of people understanding her, which is really cool. Do you remember when I told you, I talked on the podcast that she was like at the resort that I live near?
Yeah. I remember that.
I was like in a sauna with my friend yesterday and we're catching up. And I think she was like, what have you been up to? I was like, oh, I read the Britney Spears memoir. Have you? And she was like, I met her when she was here. Did you know that? I was like,
oh,
no,
sick.
I hunted that girl down. And she said she was at the pool and it was like 8 a.m. Her and her husband had just worked out and they were going to just dip, like swim before all the kids get there and things like that. And she said there was a blonde lady. She was twirling. She was touching trees. She was having a good time.
Sounds like Britney.
Sounds like Britney. And she said Britney went up to her husband, hit on her, on him. And like, he didn't know who she was and was like, whatever. Turned around, sits back down with her. And she notices the tramp stamp that she has.
Yeah.
Is that rude to say? The tattoo?
No, that's what they're called, tramp stamps.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that canceled? I hope tramp stamps are canceled. It's a great
Cancel
term.
me.
I love
Tramp
it.
stamp.
I love it. Embrace it.
Yeah. And she notices it. She looks her up. She's like, oh my gosh, it's Britney. And she said she goes up to Britney and says, I just want to say I'm your biggest fan. And like whispers it. She's like, I don't want people to know. Obviously, she's incognito, hat, hair, like sunnies. And I guess she like freaked out and was like, my name's Samantha. I don't even know who that is. And she was like, come on, you don't know who Britney Spears is. And she had a friend with her. And the friend was like, it's fine. Like, she obviously doesn't like acknowledging that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Monica's like, okay, sorry. Well, it was great to meet you. Like, still your biggest fan. She said she just was like, no, I just kept saying I'm the biggest fan. I don't care if she said her name Samantha. And then she left. But I was like, epic.
Honestly, that's even better than if she'd been like, oh, thank you. I was like, the fact she tried to go like incognito. I was like, that's so Britney.
I don't know who Britney is. Who's Britney Spears?
Like, that's not possible. Nice try. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She should have been like, Samantha, I also love Britney. Thank you for the great compliment. Like, you have to like play into it like that if you're going to fake it. It is
like,
crazy.
I get it all the time.
Have you watched the Beckham documentary?
No. Have you?
Oh, I'm in the middle of it. I've got like one episode left. And so it reminds me of Britney Spears because they show like the paparazzi in that time. And it was astronomical. There's no way anyone can get out of that. Like late 90s, early 2000s, when we first had like paparazzi and headline pop culture and all that before social media. So we never saw behind the scenes. And it's crazy what those paparazzis and just like people would do. Do you know what I mean? There was no sense of like, how is this affecting that person? It was just like, how do we turn this into $1 million photo? Like at all costs. Like, especially her, I was like, oh, just, I can't wait to read it. But the things we did, like not we, but you know what I mean? Just people that would just like let it happen because we didn't realize how they're being treated. Like the one that got to me was Victoria and David Beckham had a cheating scandal. And back then, and there's this, and he's carrying their 2 kids as they're walking through this crowd of like paparazzis, and it's just they're eating them alive and they're screaming things. They're like, Brooklyn is the son's name, and they're like screaming the worst things you could think to this little kid, being like, Brooklyn, do you know da 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 da? Like they don't say it, but and like David, you can see is like to this day eaten up alive. He's like, I don't know how that affected my son. I'm like, thank God that would not pass today, because if some paparazzi was yelling that to a kid, people would just pull out their phones and be like, you go to jail. But it's just crazy. Like I wish we had videos of the paparazzi, more of that, to see how these stars got treated back then.
Oh, definitely. That is so interesting. I mean, I saw a TikTok of Charlie D'Amelio, I want to say, and she like had a TV show and she was crying. There was like one paparazzi, and not to like discredit her being upset that and anxious there's somebody there taking her photo, but they compared it to like nowadays paparazzi to Britney Spears level, and how Charlie was freaking out over one, and they're like, nobody even thought about how it would freak Britney out. And it was so fascinating. And what you have to do, okay, if you have Wi-Fi on the plane, I literally made notes. So in the memoir, she'll reference things like the VMAs in 2001, VMAs in 2011. And while I would read it, I'd look it up and I'd watch the performance she talks about. So good.
Yeah. That's a good way. That's a good way. So that's why documentaries are nice versus books, because they show it. Books, you have to use your imagination. Gross.
Exactly.
Ew, I wouldn't be fed meat and turn my brain off.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I'm going back to the 90s reading a book, but it was really good. So any other take on Britney Spears before we move on?
I just think Britney is as iconic as they come. And when can we actually, people comment, when can we dive more into it? Because the book's out, we're all reading it. Do we want to talk more about it in a couple times? So you said the spoilers. Is there any, because the only spoiler that I know is
once
everywhere.
You read it, let's just talk about it.
Perfect. I like
Not that deep.
Okay. I just don't want to spoil things for people. You know what I mean? Like, how long can you start talking about things? I guess we'll say skip ahead.
Exactly. I'm like, TikTok basically spoiled everything. So
true. Tales
I was fine with it. Okay. Our next headline is a little fitnessy news. And it was an article I was reading of like foods that boost levels of Ozempic-like hormones, which I just thought was quite funny because everybody and their mom is obsessed with Ozempic at the moment. So Keltie, take it away.
So first of all, what the article was saying is that it stimulates GLP-1 and it helps balance that hormone, which is one thing that affects your hunger. And so they gave all these lists of foods, aka mainly fiber, can kind of like, you don't need Ozempic, just eat fiber. That's kind of what the NPR article said. Now, first, I'm just going to quickly say what GLP-1 is. It stimulates insulin, and it also is an active receptor for your brain and stomach to tell you you're hungry or not. It regulates your appetite. So that's really the base without getting too sciencey, because I don't want to bore you guys. Now, without getting too much into it, we need to stop freaking out about this blood sugar balancing thing. I did an entire 2-week experiment. I wore the continuous glucose monitor because everywhere I see on these podcasts, they're like blood sugar balancing and eating your food in a specific way. And sugar is going to raise you up and crash you down. If you don't sleep, your blood sugar is crashing and overweight. Now, before I dive in, if you do have metabolic issues, like someone who has diabetes, you do need these drugs. Now, that's why it's really going to help with obesity. And some people who have severe metabolic issues, that it sounds so easy. Just eat a bit of fiber in your hunger. I'm like, no, their hormones are so out of whack that they can't control their hunger through food. They need pharmaceutical intervention. And that's why it's so great. Now, for the average person is seeing all this stuff, it is so hard if you're metabolically healthy to ruin your blood sugar. So I did like no sleep, empty stomach, chocolate bar. And it spiked up and went down, but it was still in a green, healthy range. I ate a balanced meal, still in healthy range. I fasted, still in healthy range. Like I couldn't do anything to get it out of a healthy, like 30-point range, versus I read in the comments, people who have diabetes have a piece of white bread, it shoots up 300. I mean, empty stomach chocolate bar shoots up 20, 30. So I think people stress out so much about it. Now, what happens? Fiber slows the digestion of food. It keeps you fuller longer. Because you're more fuller, you're less likely to overeat. So that's why fiber forever is great. There's longevity things. But I think we have to be careful right now of like stressing people out about these blood sugar stuff and being like, you have to have fiber and everything. Fiber and protein will keep you fuller longer, slows the digestive foods, helps you regulate, stop you overeating. But that's just common sense. Like we don't need to start like tying that into Ozempic and blood sugar when, like I said, the average person's blood sugar is as healthy as could be. Like that's all that blood glucose thing did. And if yours isn't, and you have issues, then you have pharmaceuticals, and we should all be eating fiber. But you know what I mean? I just suddenly I'm like, we shouldn't all be stressed. We have healthy pancreases, just like with detoxing. Like, detoxing, everyone's like, we have a liver. Insulin, we have a pancreas. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, don't stress. Eat fiber, eat protein. If you have a chocolate bar at Halloween, you'll be okay.
What are some ways people can increase their fiber?
So I almost said protein. I was like, whole grains. Fruit. Honestly, if you eat a bunch of fruits and vegetables, you're fine. Like, I think that's such a easy thing. Then obviously whole grains, wheat, barley, lentils, beans, all that, and include it. The Blue Zone diet is full of, like, that people are like, the longevity, full of fiber. It is so important to have in your diet, but as I said, you don't have to stress about all this stuff. Just include a bunch of fiber, but not too much, as you learn the hard way.
Yes. Be careful and slowly up your fiber, not immediately.
Yes. And drink a lot of water. If you up your fiber, drink a lot of water, or learn the hard way. You can learn the hard way, but it will
also, it's chili season. That's an easy way to get your fiber intake.
It's so good. It's just beans and veggies. Soup is actually a nice way to get your fiber in. No one thinks about throwing so much veggies, blend it up, heat it up, and it's not so hard. Like, a block of raw broccoli can be tough on the gut.
Oh, totally. Bentley, his meal is a little fresh pet of like chicken, and it's like meat. And then I throw in some broccoli, and because he needs more fiber, otherwise he can't go to the bathroom. It is the funniest thing to watch that man chomp on a broccoli. It's my favorite thing in the world. So eat your fiber like Bentley.
Everyone, be like Bentley.
Everybody want to be like Bentley. BLB, be like Bentley.
BLB. Is that?
Be like Bentley.
Yeah, I like it. Let's get necklaces.
Not BLT.
BLB. I was like, there's a lot of things that are BL. So I was like, wait, we got to make sure that one's not taken.
Yeah. Okay. I'll trademark it. I'll keep you guys updated. Next up is my favorite topic in the world. It's the Taylor Swift album, 1989, dropped again. Amazing. And Taylor's version and the new songs. Have you listened to this at all?
I haven't yet, because, like I said, I haven't really had time to do anything. But it's on. It's downloaded, ready to go on the airplane. Jam out.
Okay. So, well, let me tell you, there are some vaulted songs that are so angry towards who I think Harry Styles. Oh, like, because we don't actually know. They are
when
hilarious.
You said this, I thought you were saying destroys Harry Styles. Like, I thought she beat his streaming records, and I was like, damn right. But she was nowhere. They're not even in the same ballpark. She's so ahead of him there.
Literally, yeah. I'm like, she became recently a billionaire, like last week, from the tour.
Too. Clap, clap. B-word. Let's go,
girlfriends. Go, I'm like, no shock at all. Oh, I saw the Eras Tour movie as well this weekend. That was epic. I went with my friend Jess and then Millie. And Millie's not really a fan, but she's trying to be. And she said, if you go to Beyonce, I'll go to Taylor. And Jess and I are singing, we're dancing, we're doing everything. And it's just Millie eating her popcorn. And she said she really likes to like fully watch it. Like, she doesn't want to sing along. So it's hilarious to watch her. I'm like, am I annoying you? Am I being too loud? She's like, no, you're fine.
I love it.
But yeah, so anyways, check it out. It's very nice. I love 1989. And then the Reputation girlies, It's Our Time finally. I have a feeling she's just going to drop it. And I'm fine. I'm fine with it. It's not as hyped, but it's my favorite. But yeah, so you'll have to let me know. You listen to the songs and it's like, ooh, whoever she's talking about, like, she's mad. And then you hear all these things that she's referring to and like basically calling him like a whore and everything. And it's hilarious.
I love it. Honestly, I love I was watching, ironically, I was getting my nails done and they were playing Taylor Swift and K-pop music videos. So I'm like, iconic Sunday. I just sat there and like watched them. And I think it was Reputation. And she was in like the all sultry, like almost like corset, like bondage one. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I was just like, I just love when she's in that mode, angry, sultry. I was like, it's so
I love it.
Not normal. And I'm like, yes. Because, she's like empowered in it too. She's like, you can't put Taylor in a box. And
no,
I'm here.
It's my favorite thing. Yeah. Whenever I'm angry, frustrated at somebody, I just listen to Look What You Made Me Do. Or This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things by The Reputation.
It hits.
It hits deep. Okay. So our next one is, I thought this was funny. It was like this article about older generations versus new. And we're like awkwardly in that generation where we're millennials, but we're also the cusp of Gen Z, right? So like
I always have an identity crisis because they said young millennials were the young generation for like 3 years. You know what I mean? Like it was like early 20s. I remember like everyone bitching about us in avocado toast. And suddenly it was like Gen Z's the young one. I was like, I'm in my 20s. I'm still young. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so first thing they're having all these problems about buying houses, and the young millennials are like, we're in college. So
yeah.
I think there's a definite millennial
Yeah,
identity
that's a good way to
crisis.
put it.
Millennial identity crisis.
I think it's beautiful that we grew up without technology, and then we also grew up with technology. So we can still hang.
The best generation.
Like we can hang with the tech, but like we also can appreciate the finer things in life without the tech. So this article brought up like memories, and I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on the memories and like kind of how you, or at least what you do and what I do. Sound good?
Yes, hit me.
Okay. First things first, smoking sections in restaurants. Do you remember this?
God. I remember hearing about that they were going to take it away. And it like, there's so many people angry that they were taking it away. It was like so logical now looking back. Like, no, we should not.
Gross.
But there's definitely like old buildings that you go in and you could tell they had a smoking section. Like it's in the rugs still.
Yeah. I think of my good old Kent, Washington local family Sherry's, I want to say. Yeah. Do you have Sherry's? It's like a Denny's. Do you have Denny's?
Yeah, we have Denny's.
Okay. It's like a Denny's, but like emphasis on the pie at Sherry's. It's really good. And we would go there like a couple times, you know, a month, and there would be a smoking section and a non-smoking section. And I really hate the smell of smoke. And so as like that young, I remember it. And I also remember it stinking for a long time. And then I also remember sitting in the smoking section once it wasn't anymore and thinking this feels wrong.
Yeah, true. Or an actual weird thing I have is my one uncle was a big time smoker, and their house was the place we'd always go on Fridays, and it was pizza. We'd go play in the pool and he'd order pizza for everyone. He was a big smoker. So he'd be at the barbecue making burgers and hot dogs for the parents and smoking in front of all the kids, just like right there. But that smell, that cigarette, and I've got it to this day. I want to know what cigarette is, because when I'm walking down the street and someone smokes it, I'm like, love it. I love the smell of it because it's so nostalgic to like when I used to be like, those are the best days of my childhood. So like I associate it, but I'm so scared that one day I'll actually figure out what cigarette it is. And then suddenly I'll forever have to battle not buying that cigarette. Cause you guys like, if I ever become a smoker, and because of that, cause I'd be like, I don't smoke, I don't vape, but I love it so much, that smell.
That's hilarious. I'm like, I've never heard somebody have a positive like experience.
I love it. Like, walking down the street, I'm like, as someone who hates smoking, it's just a one very specific smell, and I can it's probably like just like a Marlboro basic thing or something, but or
like the skinny ones or the Swishers or something.
I couldn't tell you.
Michael, do you know what a Swisher is?
No,
I couldn't even tell you now. I already forgot it, but he told me people would smoke them in high school. And he was like, oh yeah, like his friend, he's like, Caden loved them. He was like, I think I tried them a few times. And I was like, bad boy.
Cigarellos? Are they like cigarellos?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. But I was just baffled because him and I were like very sheltered growing up, both of us. And I was we had smoked a Swisher?
Are they called Prime Time? Do you know what I'm talking?
All he said was Swisher. I didn't even look it up.
Prime Time. It's what that was kind of like this weird, everyone tried when they turned 18, but the people who it either brought you smoking or brought you away from ever smoking.
Probably,
and it was just like, it was tobacco and flavoring. That's all it was, pretty much. And
maybe it was that. I'll have to ask him. So that sounds familiar. That does sound familiar. Okay, next one is TV channels that you memorize. So 40 Nickelodeon, 41 Disney Channel, 39 ABC Family. Do you have that?
So we have something called Family Channel, which is our knockoff Disney Channel. So it was like the exact same, but we didn't like, we got, oh God, I can't remember what was everything, but we got everything on there. But there's a couple things we got that you didn't, and vice versa.
Ooh.
Oh God, I want to say it was 31. I can't remember. And then we eventually got Nickelodeon, but we didn't have it when I was younger. It was something else. I can't remember the name of it now. So
Okay,
long
well,
ago.
moral of the story is you understand the TV channels.
Yes.
That's not a thing anymore. It's just like Netflix, Hulu.
True.
Or a catalog of like, you can go to a menu, where back then we didn't have that. It was just a remote. So, okay. Next
TV
up
guide.
is catalogs. And I had to think about this, but I had this for American Girl and I also had it for Justice or like Limited Too. And there were catalogs that would be shipped or like Thanksgiving, Black Friday. And you would pick out what you wanted from the catalog, order it, and it'd take like a month to come.
We'd have, is Sears? I think Sears is a Canadian thing. Yeah.
No,
so like
it's
Sears.
home,
Okay, Sears and HBC, like Hudson Bay Company, all had those. I remember, and you would look through it, but this is before.
And you'd circle what you wanted for Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
Good times. Okay, next up is, what did you do for fun without electronics? Because a lot of kids now just like YouTube or, you know, have an iPad, where we had computer games, but like my parents didn't really let me play on them. And if I did, it had to be a Christian computer game. So I would just go outside and make like slime like patties or, you know, like play with, you were forced to play with your neighborhood friends, right? Your kids.
We definitely we did a lot of make believe. Like I would definitely act out scenarios, like pretend to be. So it was a lot like put on plays. I put on a lot of plays and a lot of performances. Big people heard me sing and I would come down all dressed up and pretend to be whatever singer I was. And then when computers became a thing, I became a big gamer. When I was either at sports, gaming, and then when LimeWire came, I was burning CDs like a mother effer all the time.
Don't admit to that.
Hours. Come at me. I'll bring me the lawsuit.
Do you remember?
I'll take the clicks.
People would like spread rumors like that person was found LimeWire 20 years in prison, and you'd be like, oh my God, all I want to do is download like Why Not by Hilary Duff.
It was just good. I was trying to get some 41 songs and I was like, I might go to jail. And my parents would come in and I was like, you delete everything. And I'm like,
Well, they would get in trouble. We were minors, right?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Okay, next one. I'll just do rapid fire. Forced to use a dictionary in school. I hated that. Thesaurus.
And encyclopedias. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. And then next up, Blockbusters.
Oh,
we've talked about that. Love it.
It's even the Blockbuster card, the getting the candy, looking for the movie. Amazing.
Arguing over what you want, and like you get the DVD and they're always empty because people would steal them. Yeah. Good times.
Or VHSs.
Or VHS, yeah.
I feel DVDs were very short-lived.
No way.
A Blockbuster? Maybe, I guess it was there.
This is where our age is.
Like,
because I was DVD. You were probably VHS because you're so old.
I was both. So funny. But I'm like, I am wondering, like, I feel this is not talked about. DVDs weren't along. Like, I feel like VHSs were along for like 10 years and then DVDs were like 5 years and then we went to streaming. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. But like, I collected DVDs, like all the Disney ones, and all my family collected them.
Yeah, we had everything.
You know, you're a kid, you want to watch a movie, you got like 100 options of DVDs.
I don't know why. I guess I just have more memories as a kid getting a VHS there.
Yeah.
Like going in, and then I remember buying DVDs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is.
Okay. Next up, passing notes in school instead of texting. Short-lived, because I mean, I got a phone when I was like in 5th grade, 4th grade. But back in the day, nice little note pass.
Very brief. But also, I remember it went pretty far because there was like 3 years where not everyone had phones.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was like everyone still passed notes and teachers would get so mad if you had your phone. Now I think they can't control it.
Yeah. Next up, watching a show when it actually came out because there's no recording. Like I
miss that.
Forever remember when the first High School Musical came out. And like my mom made me go over to her friend's house and she had little kids. And I remember being like, I have to watch this. They have to be quiet. Like, I don't know why it's burned in my brain. Did you have shows like that?
Oh, yeah. Just that was how everything was, whether it be Survivor on Thursday nights and American Idol. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember I missed this so much. And this is why I think Game of Thrones is so popular. Not just because it's an amazing show, but because it was something everyone was watching at the same time. And the next morning we all chatted about it. And I missed that because I remember it being in elementary specifically.
Like Glee or something?
Like, but when I was really young, like, 12 years old, you'd watch American Idol with your family. And then I remember like the next day being like, oh, who, and that's all you would talk about is like who was on American Idol. And so you think you could dance and who got voted out. And I miss that.
Me too. Okay, next up, only pictures that are printed out.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about it, you go on trips and only
Wow.
whatever your mom, your dad documented. My grandma, my mom still a year later after her passing is going through her photos. My grandma
Yeah.
documented everything, and it was actually really fun for the
Oh, I
memorial.
love that.
My whole family got together and we went through a lot of the photos, and I'd be like, oh my God, look at like this cousin. And I'd give it to them. Like we could all take the photos back ourselves, but it's like, how weird. That was the only way we documented anything, was just the good old cameras.
I love those TikToks of it when you tell someone to take a photo. What does it look like? And so millennial or even like an older Gen Z or anyone above, honestly, anyone over the age of like 21 goes like, takes a photo, click up and down. But if you go
Oh,
anyone under 15, because they've never used digital cameras, they just like pretend they're clicking a phone. So anyone who's
that's
really little,
weird.
that's a weird like, oh, there's the technology change right there.
Oh my God, that's creepy. Okay, last but not least, paper maps or old school GPSs.
I remember going on like MapQuest and like Google Maps
Yes.
and printing off it. And my mom still does it for her runs. I've given her an Apple
Stop.
Watch and she goes and she does her run. And then after she goes on mapyourrun.com and maps it to see how far she went.
So cute.
She has an Apple Watch. Like she just likes it.
That's so cute. I love that. I remember my mom bought me like a GPS that you could plug in to like the cigarette thing. And
oh, yeah.
I don't know where it came, like how I got the info up in the world, but like it'd pop up. But before I would try and like print out MapQuest. And if I couldn't find it, I'd just give up and go home.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not good with my like north, south, east, west. I'd always fail there.
Well,
so yeah, thanks for playing with me. I just thought it was funny because majority of us that listen to this podcast are around this generation, and I got a kick, looking up the old school, nostalgic.
I love it. Nostalgic. Nostalgia is just everything. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so with a little bit of time left, we thought instead of confession session, we've had quite a bit of questions. So we thought we'd just kind of rapid fire answer some of them. First things first, how to find personal growth when those around you don't have the same ambition.
I think that's part of the growth right there. That's what lesson number one. You got to do things for you, not just around the people, because you can't just rely on other people. It's whether just learning to take that time in the morning to read a book or signing up for something and just putting yourself out there. And you can't rely on anyone else to make yourself growth. But at the same time, if you're with people that are holding you back, that is also like a reminder of you are the sum of, the 5 people around you. And it's not that you have to give up those friends, but you're like trying to find people in, for example, I'm back in school for music. I'm not expecting my friends to give a crap about music, but if I wanted someone, I just reach out, go online or meet other people that do similar things. That's fine.
I agree with that. And it is like, you are who you associate yourself with, like through and through. And if I think when it's a problem, because we all have our own, ways of life. We all want to live a different life, and that's fine. And like you said, you can't knock on those that don't have that growth pattern as you.
Yeah.
But what happens is like, if it starts to affect like really what you want, your progress, if they make fun of you, they make little snide comments, those are the kind of people that I'd be like, okay, see ya. Like I remember when I moved from Washington to California, I wanted to meet people that like were interested in what I was interested in. Cause like my friends back in Washington wanted this lifestyle I didn't want. So I knew it was pointless for me to stay there. And I stayed in touch with a lot of them, but like I also let a few go of just like season. It was great to know you, but now like, it's just hard to stay in contact. And if you meet people that are like-minded, it's just this nice click. So don't be afraid to, whatever you're interested in, try and find like-minded people like that. They are out there, and still keep those that maybe don't, as long as they support you. That's what matters.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, thoughts on an age difference when the guy is younger.
Now, I've only done this once, and the guy was a year younger. And I do think there is like, depends. There's like a ratio between, obviously, we're just no one under 18. Duh. We're not even talking there. 18 to 25, it's a wild card of the guy you're going to get. So he can be 2 years older and still be more immature than you. Do you know what I mean? And I think once you get over that 25 and your brain's fully formed, it starts to even out a bit more. But it's tough to say because it's as long as the person is in the same stage of what they want in a relationship. They don't even have to be necessarily in the same stage of life. But I think it's just like they're willing to settle down. They want to play the field. I think that's what. And like sometimes guys, like I just think of my boyfriend, he lived a lot of life before 21. At 21, he has been like, I've done it all. I could have settled down, have a kid because he's lived it. Versus I know some guys who are 35 and still haven't fully lived their bachelor life. So that's where I say with dating, it really is subjective on the guy to a point. Like if he's 20 years younger, but then he might be into that. So I think as long as they're in the same stage as you are. What do you think?
Or maybe as long as you're on the same page, like just getting the honesty. Because if they're younger, maybe they're just going through a phase, having fun. I don't know, like you said. But I also have only dated somebody a year younger. Oh, Michael's a year younger than me. So, you know.
You married one.
It works. But a year, I feel like, is not what they're getting at.
No.
But I do know some people that like put an age limit, like a stop on who they want to date. Rightfully so. And also I know one of my friends, Emily, she has a podcast, What Fulfills You. And she is so funny. She's very type A, like she just has a different kind of personality. And she preaches to only date like older men because
I see. Yeah.
Like it's, I wish I like knew the quote that she said, but like she will only date men in their 30s, even though she's in her 20s. Cause she's just like, that's where I want to be. And like, they're established and like, not all of them want kids right away. And so for her, it works, I guess.
I will give one tip real fast. You want to be the second long-term girlfriend. If you want someone to settle down, you want someone who's been through it and has been trained. Because I feel like every single one of my girlfriends has that one first long-term relationship in your early 20s. And you look back and you're like, oh, but then after, like, you taught them so much. And even yourself, you learn so much how to be in a relationship that like, as soon as any guy you've met and they've been through it, they understand how to be in a relationship a bit more. And then you build it. So like, be wary of you're going to train him. You don't want the train. You want the one who's already been trained by someone else.
Totally. I was just reflecting like today on that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was on a run and I was just thinking, and I'm like, how weird. Like Michael and I met really young and we made it through, but I was thinking of like how childish I was in college. And like, I just didn't understand. I'd never really had a real relationship. The guy I dated before him, I just wouldn't even really count that. So
yeah,
I just look back and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how we got out of that, because I would be like wild or crazy, or like, I just had these memories of being like, why did I pick a fight over that? You know?
Yeah.
So you're totally right. Like sometimes we don't know. I just think of like how naive I was with not really dating, period. And now if I was to hypothetically get in a relationship, I'd be like, oh, not as crazy. Not as intense with the my personality with the things, I would say. Yeah.
All did it.
Okay, last but not least, how to let go of an ex, even though you still care about him and wish him the best.
Everyone has different thoughts, but what's always worked for me, out of sight, out of mind. Even if you don't want to full and block, delete, mute, don't look at their stuff. You honestly, the best thing you can do is just like be selfish with your time, do things that you couldn't do. Like say you always had date nights. Be like, oh, what's something I would like to do on date night? Do a spin class. I did a lot of group classes, so I was around people. Lots of nights out with my friends, learned to enjoy my time alone, and just saw nothing, no texting. I almost to a point that like, as soon as you broke up with me, you're dead to me for a couple of years. And like, I try and forget you exist, and you can't text, you can't do anything because you slowly forget and they become out of your life, and it makes it easier versus you checking in. So I just say, cut them out. And then in a couple of years, I'll see them and friendly. There's no hatred. I'm just like, we're done. I just need to go away. And that's how I've always done it.
I completely agree. Yeah. I feel like, well, the fact I haven't had an ex in a very long time, but my recent, well, the one I dated before I met Michael, I recently, like we stayed cordial with like, it just didn't work out communication way, like style of relationship. So it was no bad blood, and we stayed in contact because just like at one point he wanted to be a firefighter and I had to like vouch for him because I was in a relationship with him. It was very strange, but I recently saw he's dating a girl that I used to be like best friends with, but her and I just kind of fell out of being friends and like haven't talked in years. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. Like we used to be really close. She didn't even tell me about this. But then I was like, I didn't really consider it that much of an intense relationship. It was just like a college relationship. But I did reach out to her and was like, hey, I'm really happy for both of you. And I'm sure if that would have happened back then, I probably would have been like, what the heck? Like, that's the weirdest thing. But
yeah,
I think there's beauty in like moving on, acknowledging that person isn't an enemy or whatever, however you ended it. Sounds like she ended it well with him because she still cares and wishes the best, which is what I had, where I was like, dude, it just doesn't work. So that's where I was like, hey, bygones be bygones. Like, I hope you guys have, you know, great time. I was like, I love both of you as individuals. That is super cool. And I think it goes a long way to like be that person. And also, I mean, it helps I'm married now. Like, I'm like, I just don't consider it. But still, I recently had something where I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Right? Like, you're just like, oh, blast from the past.
Yep. I love it. And just also, just because you care about someone doesn't mean you have to check in on them every day. Do you know what I mean? You gotta be selfish in a breakup. Do what does for you. And don't think you're being this bad person not talking to them because you're broken up. You can wish them the best. You don't owe them anything. Exactly. And then maybe in many of years you can become friends. But I think when you're not over, you have to wait till you're completely over yourself. And then you can have like, you lift the rose covered glasses off and then you see, and then it's just a bit easier. Worry about yourself first.
Absolutely. And with time, I feel like it will become a friendship in the sense of like 100%. You'll have friendship memories where it's not so intense, hopefully, if you still care about them. Okay, well, that is our episode today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. With that being said, do not forget to submit a confession session or any questions you may have to our Instagram. Leave us a 5-star review, maybe write us a funny little comment, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, perfect.